be everywhere all the time. The purpose of the county's ordinance, as I understand it from the sheriff, is so that they can trespass people out of the park who are loitering there after hours. If they're there, they see them, they go, you know, there's some teeth in it for them rather than just playing whack-a-mole, I guess is a good way to describe it. That was his request.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion if there's no other comments.
I'll make a motion to let you prepare a draft for us.
Okay. Do we have a second?
This one here.
I'll second.
Motion from Councilman Oliver, second, excuse me, second from Councilwoman Williams Harper. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? These next two items are something that's been discussed for a while, just having annual reviews for the city officials who are appointed by the mayor and council. Tonight we'll be doing both city clerk Jennifer Lee and city treasurer HR director Jeanette Trask. Whether they're more comfortable behind the podium or here at the table with us, we've given them that latitude. But we'll start with city clerk Jennifer Lee. Annual performance evaluation, including but not limited to consideration of character, alleged misconduct, professional competence, or physical or mental health. Possible action includes, but is not limited to termination, suspension, demotion, reduction in pay, reprimand, promotion, endorsement, engagement, retention, or no action. I know some of that language, just for those sitting out in the audience, can seem a little drastic, but it is just the legal, it's just the legal language for these kind of reviews. So, with that, welcome Clerk Lee and Council.
Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, I'll start.
Sure.
My history is just typing stuff up. First of all, I disclose that she is a friend of mine. Had several years working relationship in my first tour of duty with the city. So I've got probably about 10 questions and comments. The duties you have accepted with the title of city clerk are huge, and carry responsibilities are unlimited. You have carried the workload of supervising admin departments very well. Keeping track of agendas, grants, scheduling, attending meetings along with city through hundreds of Zoom calls and presentations are to be commended. Thank you. Many times you are the listening post for concerns, complaints, not only from the public, but from the staff and us elected officials. I personally have to come to you with issues and left knowing you will have them addressed. Thank you again for that. And please, your admin assistance is relieving you of the mundane but important duties to allow you to focus on directing and keeping our city in compliance with Nevada law. And congratulations on achieving the certificate given by the Nevada League of Cities for municipal courts. This illustrates the extra effort you put toward your work all the time. Now a couple questions for you. Do you feel you have an open door policy in which fellow employees can approach you for suggestions?
I do. I've had employees approach me with issues, but it's not on a frequent basis. Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you. You just answered that there, thank you very much. Does the chain of command work in your opinion that we have established with the city?
Yes, it's important to keep supervisors in the loop. I have had an employee, recently had an employee bring concerns to my attention, and after she discussed that with me, I brought to her attention that it probably would have been a more effective solution to start with the other employee's supervisor
So the
to
chain,
solve the problem.
okay, so the chain of command, since you're right in the front line of it, working well.
I think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
On the average, how many hours a week do you work? And be honest on this, because I know I'm counting a week. I'm talking Sunday through Saturday, all the way around.
50.
That's 50.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Were you able to use all your vacation with Penley, which I mean, now read right into your vacation off because you work so much?
I haven't been able to use all my vacation. I've been able to use what vacation days I have without penalty.
Okay,
Yeah,
so all those extra hours, you still were able to get your level down to 240 hours?
No, I've got 7 days scheduled this year so far, and after I use those, I'll still have 311 vacation hours remaining. So, yeah, I'm over.
I'm gonna find the thoughts on that. Just kidding. Okay, what do you think is the key to keep your admin assistant's position filled to enable you to follow your printed job description, which was handed to us tonight, to the letter and allow you the opportunity to further your education in either training or on the internet?
A person well fitted for the job. Not everyone enjoys having to switch gears on a dime or doing the organizational work that's required to keep all the plates in the air. But once you found that person, handing over ownership for a manageable number of responsibilities is the key. And yeah, so.
Okay. Yeah, that's working out real well for the time I spend down here. Okay, and then what do you consider your biggest challenge being the city clerk for the city of Eden?
Having time to analyze information and regularly review the budget with the treasurer. Because I'm always in the weeds, it seems like.
Okay.
That's okay, but
Okay, and this one here, you know, having been the city clerk for previous administrations, do you feel the city is on track with Nevada law?
I do. Yeah.
That's very important. Okay, and the last question, is there anything you'd like from the mayor and city council in support of your position?
I thought about this a little bit and came up with an awareness of the time necessary every day for staff to serve the public. It always takes longer than you think. Yesterday, I composed an email to someone who'd submitted a complaint, and by the time I addressed all her concerns in an email and made a call up to the building department, 20 minutes had gone by. Just being aware of that, just routine tasks is kind of like the dishes. No one notices that they're not being done until they're not done. So there's a lot of things that all the city staff do that we take for granted, frankly, and it all takes time. So.
Good answer. I know since you've got your new assistants, the last one here, I could call you, and I know I probably bug you a lot, but Patty, taking it up real well.
She
So
is.
it's nice
Oh, yes.
again, because whatever I bug you with, pass it off to somebody and tell me to look it up myself.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's my question.
Okay.
Is anything else from the council they'd like to add, or questions, or?
I'm sure I can add to that.
My remarks would be that very efficient, and anytime I've had a question come into the office, I have to result immediately. In comparison to others that I've had to deal with, very efficient. Thank you.
And I'd just like to add that the institutional knowledge that you possess in this position, I think, is really invaluable. As I'm sure Councilman Ulrich can add, I mean, having been around in that position long enough, I mean, things come up, and you've got to be able to remember kind of who came in the door 20 years ago, and what happened 5 years ago, and where you might find this or that, and it is a real benefit, and we appreciate the efficiency that comes with that, and your willingness to be here and serve with us.
Mayor,
Yes.
I obviously don't have a history, but I spent a little time in her office with some things, and I did appreciate her saying, don't be afraid to ask anything that you don't know, and that is really important. So I just want to say thank you for that.
I'd just like to say you're doing a wonderful job, and thanks for all your hard work and dedication. You really turn things around.
And your professionalism is unbelievable. You do a good job, Ken.
Thank you.
Ken.
I am younger than you, that's okay.
Now I ask for a raise.
I believe a raise for this position has been put into the budget for this year, and I think it would be entirely appropriate for the council to consider that, given the outstanding job and work that's been going on. So.
move on, or, I mean, I know it was budgeted, do we say what it was, or is that up to the HR director to say that?
Is there a raise you're asking for?
No, I'm not.
You're not
Okay,
asking-
I'll take it away from her. Okay, I believe it was a 3% raise, and if I remember right, the numbers when I was done the budget, a 3% raise, and I wrote it down somewhere, I think it's around $1,900 a year, $1,900 a year. I think that,
Yeah,
but 3%, trust me on that.
well, I did the math once.
Okay.
Even though you're not asking for them to accept one?
Yes.
I'd entertain a motion then for that.
I'll make a motion to say her annual performance went well and give her a pay increase as budgeted by the budget process of 3%.
Okay. Motion from Councilman Oliver, do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Flangus, any further discussion? Is there anything you'd like to add?
Thank you.
All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Next, we'll move on to item 9, a reference and discussion of possible action, annual performance evaluation of city treasurer, HR director, Janet Kraft, including but not limited to consideration of character, alleged misconduct, professional competence, or physical or mental health. Possible action includes, but is not limited to, termination, suspension, demotion, reduction of pay, reprimand, promotion, endorsement, engagement, retention, or no action. Welcome.
Thank you.
We will entertain questions, and
Okay.
if you'd like to start again, Councilman.
Yeah. Once again, I've known Jeanette for a long time. Anyway, you know what, she worked for me as a city treasurer back when I first started duty. So, again, you know, she's a great employee, so I'll just say anything about the same amount of questions, comments, and so forth. Okay, first of all, your financials for the city have never been better. Your schedules and budgeting procedures for holding department leads accountable for their submitted budget numbers is working very well. Working relationships with our financial auditors is a great benefit to the city due to the many problems you, as the city treasurer, inherited from the previous administrations. It's been a nightmare. Hopefully, there are no more skeletons coming out of the closets from the previous administration. Okay, with the hiring of the additional employee to support the city treasurer position, are you now able to schedule cross-training for the staff downstairs?
I have been able to, and they have accomplished a lot with the new staff that we have.
Ernie, can you pass the mic over to her, please?
You know what, I'll just, I'll say.
Okay.
With the staff and the extra one that we hired to take over the payroll and accounts payable, it has allowed the staff downstairs, they work well together. The thing I've stressed with the new people, because I don't think it was afforded to the prior clerks down there, the proper training from CASEL, which is our accounting program. So I do, and you can ask them, CASEL, you get on, you look at the websites, you look at any training available, video, but they've done as much as they can so far, and we'll continue on with it. But yes, I feel like we are getting there. There was a lot of errors that, and I'm sorry, I can't promise there won't be more things to still come up, because I think as they're getting more trained, they're starting to be able to see things and question it, and we are finding, you know, things, but we're correcting them as we go along. But yes, having them do that, I feel like that end of it is it is coming along and has come a long way. And they all are aware that I want them all cross-trained in every area, so that if we lose somebody or they're out for a time, they know how to step in without needing to be trained. They would already have that training.
So that would help with any turnover or absence or vacations, sick leave, and so forth.
Yes.
Okay. This next thing is, and you know, don't take this entirely out of context, because I come from the accounting field. You know, I was in that position, and her and I locked horns over some of the discussions on numbers, but I'll throw it out there. Budgeting and being able to stick to the approved budget is vital to the financial survival of the city of Ely. Do you feel strong enough to tell department leads, no, it's not the budget? if it's not a safety-related request or will cause damage if not replaced or repaired. Caving into pressure knowing you can make it work in the financials. And when I say that, she's very sharp on balancing the books. She knows how to forecast. So we talked about this, and I said, you need to learn to say no. Now, it's up to the council to tell me to say no. But we walked corners over some decisions and discussions, so do you feel you can know when to say no to the
I think you
department?
can ask any of the department heads that I have no problem saying no. And when it comes to talking about requests that they come, I can say no, or I can look and I guess with the budget committee, I feel like I have an option to go and get more opinions, thoughts put into it. If I thought it was something that could be done, but yes, safety issues come first. Are there some of them, and I'll be honest, that one of them that had come up recently, I felt was due to, they didn't do their homework during the budgeting process. So, no, I don't feel like I have.
She has no problem telling the mayor no, I know that.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
She would agree with you.
Okay, and the one thing I'm really glad to see you get your assistant there is because, again, my background with the city and financials, you know, and I always came to you, when I brought the suggestion idea to you, you jumped on it, you went to the appropriate direction. So the question was, your years of experience working in the city treasury, you were aware of the different revenue streams outside of the day-to-day receipts. You have a handle, having your assistant, now you have a handle on out-of-the-box revenues, for example, the fire and EMS revenue. There's a lot of money out there, but everybody's busy. Some people, you know, we had to get the ball rolling again, and you jumped on it, working with the chief. Now we got that stream coming in. There may be other revenue sources out there that you don't, now you're not so tied down with accounts payable and payroll. You've got somebody to do that we can dig into those right there. Okay, then I've just got 3 left. These are the questions. What do you consider your biggest challenge in keeping the city of Yulee financially sound? Be honest.
I think that the biggest challenge is just keeping your expenses under control. There's always the unforeseen that I guess it's just being prepared for possible unforeseens. That's why the general fund is always my biggest concern, and I think by keeping the ending fund balance at a decent amount, that helps for unexpected that might come in. Of course, there's always the prospect of looking for other revenues, like you said. I don't know that we have a whole lot, but, and I know the public doesn't appreciate increases, but those are necessary sometimes, so.
Okay.
I will say, I feel like the business license, when the council did put it back to the yearly, I think we've had a better handle on that. And with having somebody new coming in, she is, it's going to take some time, but she is learning that. She is working on making sure, any mistakes are her mistakes, that she's catching them as she goes. So I feel like the business license system too was a big help there, that we're working on possibly a new system. Yeah, that might be of help on that end too.
Okay, you answered most of this next question, and so I'll just elaborate. The question was, the city treasurer position is the final gathering point for all receipts of revenues and expenses. To the best of your knowledge, are there or have there been areas that were overlooked due to lack of proper training? If so, what is being done to correct this? I believe you touched on that, saying as they're digging into it, they're finding.
Yeah, and it's not the clerk's fault. The people that came in, I'm sorry, the prior administration did not get them proper training. They did. The prior administration, the city clerk is what I call him, didn't even like Cassell, so he didn't promote it. He didn't urge them to use that avenue to learn. And I think they're more than willing to call. I would say we are keeping them busy constantly. I feel like there is more things that need to be corrected, but until we find them. But I feel now that they are starting to be able to reason through things quite well because of their training.
Okay, the last one. What would you like from the mayor and city council in support of your position as city treasurer?
I guess I would like more communication. Other than the mayor and you, I don't see much of anybody else in my office. So I've always said, if there's issues, questions, please come on in and have a visit.
No, I think on that, you're doing a great job. That's why a lot of people aren't coming seeing you. It's like, as long as you got money in the bank, you're okay. If you bounce a check, you're in trouble. But, I think there's a lot of knowledge to be had by having the council come talk to you with different questions. It goes a long ways when I sit here and ramble on about numbers and jump around and so forth. So, all right, thank you.
Once again, I think your institutional knowledge is just such a benefit to the city as an organization. Once again, thanks for being willing to serve with us and do this. I think there's a big benefit there. I did have a question about the interplay between your human resources responsibility and your treasurer responsibilities. I know they're two pretty big jobs, depending on the day of the week. And with the help that you have now, do you feel like that's still a long-term manageable situation, having those both in one position?
I would have to say, having the staff there now, it's eased up a whole bunch. I'm actually starting to look into doing some more online training through the HR just to get more experience, more education on that. And I've had a lot of training, but there's associate's degrees, there's things that I could improve on, and I feel like I have ability to possibly now have time to look into it and do it.
Mr. Mayor, I got 6 bullet points on the HR side. You want to talk about it?
Sure.
I'm sorry, the way I wrote it up there, I broke it down. Okay, I'm talking HR now, put that out. Dealing with both sides of the collective bargaining units for the city have been very successful with agreements reached in a timely manner. You have stood strong in the best interest of the city. I've sat through those negotiations, not currently, but they can get real rough. Personalities come into play, and you're dealing with friends, wages, and so forth. So that was good. From I understood, you put the union guy at the stand, you listen to us, so forth. And thanks for your training on that. Employee relation issues are very time consuming. You have managed to coordinate with department leads and employees to find resolve to the issues in the best interest of the city. Once again, you're dealing with your friends. You got a boss that's a friend, you got an employee that's a friend. Once again, the city comes first in this situation, and you got to follow the law. So I think that's great. The POPAC representatives have given positive feedback on your performance in sensitive situations with the employees. And I think that's very good. I mean, Neil goes on and on and on and on. So he gives out a compliment and goes on and on and on. So I understand what he says. But, okay, this is one thing I think needs to be brought out here in the HR position. Can you tell, and I'm just asking, can you tell me what's the difference between exempt hours worked, and are they different than hourly or non-exempt hours? Because some people, I think, I ran into this years ago.
Yeah. Basically, the difference between an exempt position and an hourly position is exempt people are exempt from overtime. It's the biggest thing. Hourly people, and this is by federal standards of the labor laws, and if I say anything wrong, correct me. The hourly is set by 40 hours a week, anything over. There's also, I think, any time worked over a 24-hour period, over 8 hours, it might be. Exempt positions, they don't get overtime. There are different, basically we're usually, somebody that's highly qualified, highly trained, that has degrees, managerial, there's different things that you have to hit to be able to classify yourself as an exempt position. But you are not tracked by your hours. It is a job that you're given to do and you do it. Where an hourly person, they're on the clock and they get overtime if they work over.
Okay, so where's that non-exempt person? That's an hourly person? Non-exempt? Same situation. So, like yourself and Jennifer, you come in, you work 50 hours a week, you know, that's counting weekends coming in at 7. I know you both come in at 6:37 all the time. If you leave early on a day, you know, you supervise, you tell her you're going, there's nothing wrong with that by law.
No.
Okay? And you answered this one question, the way I asked, you know, there's an ongoing training process, and I'm sure you're willing for any training opportunities through POPAC. And what can we do to help you in that position as city human resource?
Sign a check when I have to pay for the training. I will say POPAC does have, offers, what do you call those things, grants to pay for some of this, so I will definitely look into that first before. I do have a conference scheduled in Reno for POPAC, and I can't remember if it's October or November, so as long as I have your support that I'm going to these things and continuing the training.
Well, hopefully the staff you have now, hopefully the turnover in staff has come to an end. Everybody, since I've been over there walking, everybody seems to be happy getting along and so forth. You guys have a lot of snacks in the back room. So I frequent there a little more often, but, all right, thank you.
Any other comments or questions, or?
I would just like to say I was here when Jeanette wasn't our treasurer, and let me tell you, it was a mess. We spent a lot of sleepless nights, and I'm not the best with numbers, and I called everybody in town for help, and it is great having her here, and she's really turned things around. Thank you.
I just have a comment. She's twisted my arm for the finance committee. But I was also very glad to hear her say that I was going to have a very good teacher. Because I know this is a little different than the finance I deal with, so thank you.
Again, I totally support this, you without a doubt, because it was a mess. And, you know, I'm amazed at I look at the numbers pretty hard. You know, I don't have to say a lot, but, you know, I look at them and I like the fund balances, I like how you handle so much of the expenditure, you know. This city's in pretty darn good shape right now compared to like 6 months ago or a year ago, and it's taken a long time to get there, so thank you so much for that.
Well, I have to say that COVID really scared me, and when we were trying to do that budget, and the employees have been a huge help in keeping the expenses down, and things didn't get as bad as we expected. So yeah, I feel like we're on a good track of going forward. It's just staying there.
Anything else to add? Anything you have to add?
I didn't budget myself a raise, though.
Did you budget yourself a raise?
No.
That's what we'll say, Bree.
No, you got nothing.
That's not what I said.
I'll entertain a motion on this.
I'll make the motion to approve and positive motion for the annual performance of the city treasurer, HR director Jeanette Trask. No pay increase.
Do I have a second for this?
I'll second that.
I have a motion from Councilman Howard and a second from Councilman Spear. I believe, just for the benefit of our new member, that that's the case because she recently. Okay, all right, we're on the same page. Motion second, any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried and so ordered. And with that, I will turn the gavel over to Mayor Pro Tem Williams Harper for that item.
Discussion for possible action, appointment of Councilmember Jerry Williams Harper with City Council's consent to serve as an appointed director of the Nevada Northern Railroad Board of Directors.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You did great. You did great.
Good job.
Item 11, Councilman Carson, City Attorney. Am I saying this right? Coven? Yeah. Okay, great. Discussion for possible action, review of City Attorney Cahoon's research for disposal options for junk vehicles without a title which are confiscated by the city legally, and possible determination of city's process in this regard.
Yes, so I've done some research. I've reached out to other municipalities throughout Nevada. I have only heard back from 2 so far. I'm still waiting on other calls to be returning. But the 2 I've heard back from are Fallon. They actually have a scrapyard, but they're able to turn those over to the scrapyard there will accept them without title. And unfortunately, we don't have that. And then Caliani reached back out. They don't even do abatement procedures. So I'd still like to speak to the other similarly situated cities. I also called the DMV inquiring whether we could obtain a duplicate title. Unfortunately, what they told me was that you have to be a registered owner to obtain that. But they did provide me the option of obtaining a bonded title. And that sounds like a promising option. It would be a 3-year bond. We would pay the premium on the bond. And from what I asked, and I'd like to maybe call back and just verify this, but she indicated that we would be able to dispose of the vehicle prior to that 3-year bond being up. And so overall, I think we have 2 options. Right? We can, I think as long as we notify the owners and give adequate due process, we can go ahead and dismantle the vehicles. The other option would be to apply for the bonded title, and obviously this is the preferable option from a legal standpoint because it just protects the city a little bit more with liability, because we would be the essential owner of those vehicles with a bonded title. And then additionally I reached out to several companies that will take donated vehicles, although I think the bonded title would be required for those as well because they need some form of proof of ownership.
So a bonded title would be sufficient for a scrapper to say, you own the vehicle, I'll take it.
And we called the landfill and they've already said that they would accept a bonded title. So I would still like to maybe reach out to other jurisdictions, other cities, and see if there are additional options and maybe dig in just a little bit more, but I think we're about set on what our options are.
So would you prefer to have this table for one more year for some more research?
If that is okay.
Any questions from the council?
Sounds like you're off to a great start. Let's just table this and let you work on it some more and see what you come up with.
And I agree with that, but do we have how much is the bond? Do you know that yet?
So I believe it's 1.5 times the value of the vehicle, so it really depends on the vehicle.
Who determines the value of the
The
vehicle?
DMV.
Also, it's just off their database,
Right.
what they establish taxes on.
Thank you.
Is that a motion, David?
That's a motion to table.
Do I have a second? Second from Councilman Spears. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion tabled. Item 12, Councilman Carson, discussion for possible action, approval to donate or sell up to 10 outdated, out-of-service surface aspirating aerators to the Nevada Department of Corrections for spare parts purposes.
And I did go down there today, and I don't really think we have 10 of them. I would say 7 and a lot of old scrap parts. I do know about 5 years ago, we reached out to every municipality we could think of to put a bid in on them or see if they could use them, and nobody even wanted to look at them. So the prison did express some interest in them. The stuff that we have, I don't think really even works. They're just going to scrap it and take parts and bearings and pieces out of it. In my opinion, they're not worth too much unless you don't want to scrap them. So I would just rather donate them to the prison if that's the flavor of the council.
They're gonna come get them?
They'll come get them.
Wow.
And it helped clean up too. It really will. It's nice work.
I actually totally agree with Councilman Carson that. Okay. I can't remember the stupid right. I totally agree with you, Councilman Carson, that we should donate to them because I think back when the prison just coming here and we had the honor path and all the stuff that they've done for the city. And now they're reaching out to us for some help. By all means, I think we should donate them to them. And if we have to, Jim can haul them out there. We'll help.
Is that part of the
Jim, give that to us.
I'm kidding, I do,
Is that a motion then, Councilman?
yeah, I'll move to donate them to the Department of Corrections.
Motion from Councilman Spear to donate, do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Carson. Further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Great, so ordered. Item 13, Councilman Spear, Councilman Allworth, discussion only, update on Porter Group efforts on behalf of the city.
Here we go again. This is really kind of an exciting meeting. I mentioned earlier that after we listened to the senator's staff, when we made these requests, I left that meeting that day feeling a whole lot better than the meeting prior to with our congressman. The good news is that both senators, Rosen and Cortez Matos, sent our 3 requests in to appropriations in their entirety, which that just amazes me. Usually we'd ask for more on the first 2 ones, but the upgrade of the water line in East Ely, or East Ely, is $3.1 million, and both senators sent that on to appropriations. Central Ely sewer upgrade at $3.3 million, and they sent that on. And the final downtown upgrade project was $26 million, and they also sent that on. There was some discussion with General Hoover, but he felt very confident that we're going to get one on all 3, and that if they normally, what's happened in the past, he worked in Washington D.C. for some time, that he suspects that they're going to, the Ely downtown project, $26 million, he don't think we're going to get $26 million, but what he stated was that they know that the project's worth, if they fund $5 to $6 million of that, that's almost an assurance that each year they'll fund another portion of that until it's complete. They never fund a project, to start a project and then cut off the funding. He's just almost positive if we get that one. So that was really exciting. We don't know when the legislation's going to go. I mean, they have no time limit right now to do it, but it will occur, and we're suspecting by September those bills will be in our projects will be in the appropriation bill.
That's great. Anything else to add? Question? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Ed. Item 14, Councilman Allworth, discussion for possible action, approval of monthly balance sheets for general fund, street fund, and enterprise fund.
Okay, these are very well presented, but just be aware that these are not final until the audit's done. So, well, look at this here, and she'll probably have July's balance sheet coming forth, but everything's going to change until she gets the audit done. But they look pretty healthy, like she mentioned. Our fund balances, general fund, the hardest fund to manage, and she's doing a great job with the help of all employees. Thank you.
I suppose a motion is in order to accept it.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Motion from Councilman Allworth. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Carson. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 15, Councilman Allworth, discussion for possible action, direct city police chief to conduct a traffic study regarding possible future installation of yield or stop signs at the following locations: 8th Street and Avenue N, 12th Street and Avenue L, 12th Street and Avenue K, and 12th Street and Park Avenue, and to provide the results of that traffic study to the city engineer in order for both officials to make recommendations, in order for both officials to make recommendations at the next city council meeting following completion pursuant to City Code 6-3-2B.
I put this on the agenda, Mr. Mayor, from a concerned citizen who had near incidents at each one of these intersections, stating also young kids are